It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Yes, welcome back, you beautiful souls. Of course, it might look very strange that I'm still dressed in this clothing, but don't stress and don't fret, because it doesn't matter what you're wearing right now, you can get a workout in. And especially when it comes to working out the shoulders, it's an important muscle. They're one of the most frequently used muscle groups in the upper body. And such, with that, it needs to be a powerful and mobile part of your body too. If you don't have access to weights or any gym equipment, don't fret, because G and I are here to show you how cool you can do a workout, whether you're on rehab phase, whether you're at the highest level of an athlete. And I think for everybody, they've had an issue with their shoulder, one way or the other, right?
Oh, completely. I had such a debilitating shoulder injury that it's amazing the knock-on effect. Because you
Yeah.
don't realize, I mean, everything's part of a system, but it actually affected my lower back.
You
and
start
that's-
compensating.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the sciatic nerve issues actually started, because I started using my left side. I know you had a proper
man,
injury,
it was
almost
horrible.
a career-ending injury with your shoulder.
Literally, my shoulder was hanging out of the socket, and then the physio had to pop it back in. Had some nerve damage, torn ACL, meant to get a surgery, but I did this very work right here to rehabilitate my shoulder and get me back to upper level performance, essentially.
And consistency is key, so let's keep it up. That's where we start.
100%. So let's be consistent with this one. Mzansi, of course, you guys can join us with this, and we're going to start off with something very simple now. It's a theory you might not have known about, you might not be aware about. It's called CARS. It's called Controlled Articulated Range of Motion, all right? So what we're going to be doing is essentially facing the camera, facing in front of you. I'm going to have my thumb pointing in front of me, and from this position, I'm literally going to raise my shoulder, keep it as close to my ear as possible, and bring it as far back as you can without reorientating that thumb. Now you'll feel like your thumb wants to start turning.
Yeah.
At that point in time, push it to its last. You'll feel the lats start to stretch out. You'll feel the trapeze and everything starting to concentrate. Now you want to slowly rotate that thumb back as best as you can, keeping it pointing towards the front of you, and then rotate it all the way back until it's pointing behind you and you're coming down. Beautiful. Keep that control.
Yeah, I'm feeling the push-ups I did yesterday as well. It's got a nice stretcher on the chest.
Essentially, it's a stretch, but it's mobility at the same time, but it's in a controlled manner. The reason why we're doing this is because our nerves often aren't comfortable in these end range of motions. So what we're doing is training the nerve to flow and to move and to glide in these extreme range of motions before adding any ballistic movement to it. So it's kind of like a priming exercise. How often do we actually swing our arm around? And if we do it like this. So it's nice and wide. We're never actually doing it as controlled and as close to the articulation and the range of movement that it actually is possible in doing so. Great exercise. You can do 5 to 3 reps on each side. That's going to give you a good warm-up, a good mobility.
Really floss that
and that's
nerve in there.
the exact perfect word you're using there. You're flossing those nerves and you're allowing that flow to really take place.
Love it.
Beautiful stuff. Now what we're going to do is something that's a little bit more active. We've warmed up the shoulder.
Are we going ballistic here?
We're going to go a little bit ballistic. So we're going to incorporate the core, because I love the core and it's such a vital part of...
Core!
Parkour!
Okay.
And you want to use your body while your core is engaged. It's often that when we talk about injuries, our core can really support us quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to go over to the edge of the chair right now. We're going to have a close grip. Normally, guys will do their push-ups with their arms quite wide. What we're going to do is keep our elbows close to the body, and we're going to keep our hands in the region of our hips.
Okay.
That's going to put a lot of strain on the anterior deltoid over here, which is the front part of your shoulder.
Okay, cool.
Right, so just let a little example for G and I. We're having it elevated, so it's a little bit easier. But from here, we're going to start sliding up so your hands are closer to your hips. And then from there, you want to get your face to just go straight down on the back of the chair and then straight back up. And you're, I don't know if you're feeling a bit
feel that, eh?
Yeah, you feel a good stimulation. You feel a lot of that isolation on that front delt as well. You want to be really controlled and really slow with this, and at the same time, keep your core engaged, keep a nice neutral spine. I'm loving your form, G. That back work of yours is really coming through, yeah?
But that's the core, dude. It all stems from the core. It's amazing to me how interlinked everything is.
Exactly that. And it's so important to utilize our core while training these muscles, because in everyday movements, that's what's engaged. That's what's getting us ready.
Think about that mind-body connection. I think is a big click thing for me here. Is think about it. When you're doing rehab, that's often a lot of the work is actually getting your brain to realize that this is working again and get that neural pathway going. Get the body to work as it should work.
And our body loves to move. It wants to do these things. It wants to move freely and flow as well. Stabilizer now for me, this is something that I really love. You can do this on the floor. We're going to start off with an easier version, and you can work your way down to a lower angle. But essentially what we're going to be doing is having your elbow on the chair, all right? And you're going to basically stabilize yourself. So I'm starting off with my knee on the floor, leg out in the air. From this position, you want to try raise your waist, try get that that knee off the ground if you can, and having my foot right on the ground. If you're feeling up to it, you can lift that leg up in the air. Now you're working your core, you're working your obliques, and at the same time, you're also causing stabilization in that shoulder. Now for me, this was a great one. To come back from my injury, I needed to work that stabilization again and really get it secured in that socket. So I worked on a lot of these stabilizations, and I finished off with a lot of animal movements. So essentially, staying in the position on your knees, lifting your knees off the floor in a prone position, and just having your shoulders stacked and your core supporting you once again. So you've got a nice neutral spine, and I would just rotate, almost creating these clockwise circles with my shoulder, getting that joint to really mobilize, getting it to feel stimulation while it's still under tension. You can rotate the other way once again, and you'll feel like your shoulder starts almost like lubricates, like it's getting all oiled up. We're cracking some of the rust off of it as well, and some of the old age for anyone else there that might think that I'm too old for this. You're never too old to start. You're never too old to move this beautiful body that you've been blessed with. And there you go. Gee, it's as simple as that. Takes a bit of time. It's all about consistency. And you can literally go from having a shoulder out your socket to being able to do push-ups, handstands, and getting back into that athlete mindset.
Yeah, just strengthen and stretch all that tissue. Just remember, your body is one whole system. It's not just one individual muscle. I love that. One last thing I have to do is to that guy that phoned into the culinary hotline Bling yesterday and said one word. Parkour! Parkour! Please write and let us know who you are, because that was magic. Now, this is amazing to me, and I think the key thing I've learned from you now with our back rehab and the journey we're on, consistency. Do it every
100%.
day. When you start to see those tiny little incremental kind of growths and that step forward, that's such a motivator. When you wake up feeling just a little bit better than you did the day before.
That's the goal. And look how easy it was. We don't need any equipment. We don't need any clothing. You can wear what you have right now, and you've got no excuse to accelerate, grow, and get your gains on.